Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Cade, and this is Vinny. Today, we're continuing with our Valley Voices series, where we go around the entire world of Valley Behavioral Health, 3 different states, serving, I think, close to 20,000 clients and well over 800 employees, if you count all of our independent contractors. It's a pretty impressive, large world that we are living within, and we want to make sure that we show what the different programs within Valley Behavioral Health do. There's a lot of programs. We serve a lot of people. Today, we're going to be talking with Sarah Shine. She is a social service worker at JDOT. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I met you just the other day, and through you, I met Albert, one of the clients at JDOT, and we had an incredible conversation, which, of course, people will be able to see here on the Vinny channel. Let's get started with talking about what an SSW, a social service worker, does.
Sure. So SSW, they primarily focus on behavioral therapy or behavioral skills. That does get oftentimes wrapped up in their thought process and the emotions that are coming up with them throughout the day. And so we basically just work on behavioral skills to teach them how to manage their symptoms.
And so it would be you're working your way through addiction recovery, and the reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling right now, here's what you can do about that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
100%.
And what does JDOT do? I worked in the same building with JDOT and actually worked with Taylor Persalto quite a bit, and it took me months to realize that JDOT was completely different than the program I was working with.
Yeah, so we are the Jail Diversion Outreach Team. Most of our clients are legally involved, so whether they are on probation or a mental health court, we kind of help support and facilitate their probation agreements. We also work closely with, like I said, mental health court, but a lot of our clients come directly from the jail. So we will actually go in. We have another case manager here who will go into the jail. They will screen them to assess whether or not they're appropriate for our program, see what we can do for them. And then if they are a good fit, we bring them in from the jail and we kind of address their needs moving forward, including their criminogenic background.
So what is a good fit for JDOT?
Those who, like I said, are legally involved, they don't have to be, but whether they are currently or have been in the past, we kind of look for that criteria. We also are a higher acuity program. We serve about a level of care of about a 2.1 to a 2.5. So we are a little bit more intensive. So we are looking for clients who are a little bit more engaged and wanting to receive that kind of treatment. But our clients also have severe mental illness, are chronically homeless. And so we kind of help address those needs as well.
Gotcha. I had a client in the program I worked at that I desperately wanted to get into JDOT, but I remember Taylor saying, no, this person is not a fit. This person is not a fit. And it was because she wasn't actively seeking treatment. She was actively avoiding treatment.
Right. Yes. And as an outpatient clinic, that is very important. We are an outreach team, so we do have the ability to go out into the community and meet our clients, but where our clients are homeless, if they're not engaging with us, we don't know where they are. So that can make things difficult.
Yeah, and that is difficult. Now, you work in some capacity as a case manager as well. So do you find yourself having to try to track down people that just fell off the face of the earth?
Yeah, sometimes. So we go into the shelters a lot as well. So when we are outreaching, we will go to the shelters to try to locate these people. We can contact probation officers. So we really do our best to try to track down these people. And it is something that we have to do often.
So the question that comes up whenever JDOT comes up, the word jail is literally part of the team's name. Mm-hmm. People always ask if the job is dangerous.
Yes, and I get to ask that question a lot as well. And I personally have never felt physically threatened by any of my clients whatsoever. While our clients are criminally involved some of the time and they have extensive charges, I've never felt uncomfortable or threatened with any of my clients.
In Albert's case, he was brought your direction from the mental health court. And as he put it, it was basically a if or. You can go here to JDOT and get the treatment that you need, or you can spend a lot more time in jail.
Right. So with mental health court, not just with mental health court, but specifically with mental health court, their probation is their treatment with us. They are required to UA with us. We send monthly court reports to their probation team, to mental health court. Taylor is in charge of reporting for mental health court clients. So yeah, we work closely with mental health court in that regard.
Well, and jail doesn't treat the problem.
No, it doesn't. And unfortunately, they have programs in the jail, but more often than not, we will have clients come out of the jail that have gone through those programs and could not tell you what they've learned in there. It's definitely a different environment in there, and it's certainly not conducive to treatment or supportive.
One of the things I found incredible when I was talking with Albert is I've talked with a lot of people in recovery management over the last 30 years, and he was literally walking and working his steps, right? His recovery steps. He was definitely living that, and
Yes.
you can tell he's paying attention and he was engaged, which in our line of work, you just live for that, right? So,
Yes.
all right, let's talk about you for a few minutes. How long have you been in this line of work?
Well, I've been with Valley for over a year now, but I've been in social work for almost 12 years.
Gotcha.
I started with children with disabilities, mainly autism, Down syndrome, and whatnot. And then I worked with adults with the same developmental and learning disabilities, autism, Down syndrome, Tourette's, even coinciding diagnoses such as autism and schizophrenia. I then worked with teenage boys at a residential treatment center for mental health as well. And now I'm here at lovely Valley Behavioral Health.
And what's your education background? To be an SSW, you obviously had to go to school.
I did, yes. I graduated from the U of U with my bachelor's degree in social work.
Gotcha. I always ask this question because the answer is always different, and I kind of love that. What pulled you to service work?
My childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a very low income neighborhood. I've seen the impact that the community can have on somebody, whether it be positive or negative. I've seen how it can impact people without being able to meet their basic needs. I've seen how that can create a whole sort of litany of other issues for them, right? So I've always been, my mom, this is my mom talking, but my mom has kind of always called me the defender of the defenseless. I've just always wanted to try to give back and help people in any way that I can.
Are you from the Salt Lake City area? Did you
I'm not. I actually grew up in Dallas.
Okay, I was trying to figure it out because you don't have the Utah speech inflections. And
No.
kind of my hobby. I study speech patterns. So
yeah, no, Utah's beating the Texas accent out of me a little bit, but
yeah.
it's still there.
Well, and Dallas is metropolitan. Here we are in Salt Lake City, which is also metropolitan, and those local speech idioms don't usually carry over to the big metropolitan areas.
No.
So yeah. So okay, so you were drawn to social work, and you find this passion for defending the defenseless, as your mother put it, which I love. I'm a Captain America fan, right? That's what it was all about. So I have to ask, because I started in this field working with adolescents with autism, and usually people who start there never move away from working with, because you're working with kids with autism. They're literally the defenseless, right? They need the most defending, right? So what pulled you away from that line of work into Jail Diversion Outreach?
Well, working with children, you have to interact a lot with their families. Not that I don't have to interact with families while here at JDOT. However, the family dynamics that can come up when working with children can be incredibly overwhelming. And as somebody who is so passionate about advocating for people, I sometimes struggled with how parents were addressing their children's needs. And like I said, don't get me wrong, I have plenty of, what do we call them, helicopter parents here in JDOT, right? Even though their children are adults, we still have it. But like I said, working with children and seeing the impact that the approach that their parents take on them, it just became too much for me to navigate, and I didn't really feel like I was getting the support that I needed from my company. So
I just had to ask, because I had my reasons. Mostly I've had my nose broken so many times that I needed to not work with people with explosive behavior disorders.
Yes, that as well. Yes, I have definitely had my hair pulled and been bitten a couple times, but that was not the reason. Yeah.
Got it. At the end of the day, when you're talking to somebody about what you do, what do people seem to find the most surprising about the line of work that you're in and the population you're working with?
Honestly, what we kind of touched on it earlier, people often ask me, oh my gosh, aren't you scared to work with this population? Have you ever felt threatened? Aren't you like afraid that when you're out going into the shelters, you're going to be attacked or something? And that's the stigma talking. Right. As frustrating as it is, I try to engage in those conversations from an educational standpoint, because while my clients have mental illness, that doesn't make them automatically a violent person. In fact, I have paranoid schizophrenic clients who are probably some of the sweetest, most docile human beings I've ever met. So I actually find a lot of joy in kind of combating that stigma every day.
So yes, they may have been criminals, but that doesn't mean they're hardened, hardcore.
Right. They're still human beings, right? Yeah.
Right. They deserve that chance at rehabilitation.
Absolutely.
We deal with folks who have been in and out of the prison system or the justice system, and we have learned that folks sometimes as a survival or a defense mechanism learn very good manipulative behaviors. And that can be really hard for us as caregivers because we have these boundaries we need to keep up. So how do you maintain those boundaries when you're working with people who, despite everything else, might be really good at manipulating?
Well, we try to address when we know that they're manipulating or trying to manipulate us, we try to address it when we can and how we can. However, if they continue to manipulate, they unfortunately end up facing the natural consequences of that manipulation, whether it be discharged from the program, whether it be unsuccessfully discharged from mental health court. There are a number of ways that we try to address it, but at the end of the day, their manipulation is really just hurting themselves. And a lot of the time they start to recognize that, and sometimes they don't. But as we know in recovery, it's not a straightforward thing. They may do well for a while and they may backslide. It's back and forth. So we just try to address the manipulation whenever we can.
Well, because not addressing it is allowing the boundaries to be eroded too. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. Here it is. You've been doing this for a dozen years. What is it that you find yourself just loving about what you do?
I love interacting with my clients. I love seeing the progress that they make. And I love seeing that kind of, as cliche as this is to say, I love seeing that kind of light bulb go off in their head. Like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this the whole time when I could have been doing this and I would have achieved all of those things. And seeing how they've been almost getting in their own way and coming to these realizations is really exciting to see.
That's awesome. Anything else you want people to know about what you do or about JDOT or anything?
Not that I can think of right now, just that, this is a fantastic program.
It is a fantastic program. And I think it's one that makes a huge difference in the world and in our society, right? We're taking people that we generally, we think we just throw them away. And here we're saying, no, we're not throwing these people away. We're going to try and help them be what they want to be. So
absolutely. Because at the end of the day, they were likely in jail and making these decisions because, like you said, they were in survival mode, right? They were never given these tools or these skills to be able to achieve the things that they want to achieve. And so that's where we come in and try to give them that opportunity.
Sometimes when you're at rock bottom, you do some bad things.
Absolutely.
Sarah Shine, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yep. Thank you.